Can you introduce yourself and share a bit about your background?
First question. Can you introduce yourself and what a bit about your background? I go by Rev. My full stage name is the Reverend Oni, or David the Reverend Brown Oni. That's as much as I want to go around my background. I grew up in a small town with, you could call them the salt of the earth type family, which can be translated into, we don't believe in mental health, we don't believe psychology, we don't believe that anything that could be considered a chemical imbalance is a real thing. That's just how I was raised. And I found out that that is completely untrue.
What are the diversities that you have? The diagnosis?
The diversities that I have, or my diagnoses, are ADHD, and it was bipolar 2, but looks like it has progressed to bipolar type 1, which means that I get all the fun aspects of bipolar, not just the mood swings and the mania, but I also have to deal with a very, very frequent issue of hallucinations. And it's not like I see pink elephants or machine elves or anything like that. What I'm seeing or hearing mostly is I have conversations with people who aren't there. Sometimes I will see some geometric patterns randomly. A lot of times it's almost as if I've microdosed with the hallucinations with the bipolar. So that's fun. But those are the two main ones that I have. The undiagnosed is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is something that I've been dealing with since I was a child.
When were you diagnosed with bipolar disorder and ADHD?
I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder very late in life. It was my late 30s when I had gotten the bipolar diagnoses. ADHD was assumed in my early 20s by people with it who basically told me that I had it because I was able to keep up with them in conversation. We would switch subjects at a breakneck pace. No one else could keep up with us, but I could keep up with everyone with ADHD. And that's when it was brought to my attention that there was a possibility that I had it. And then later on, after actually finally getting insurance, because in this country it's a lot easier to get guns and ammo than it is medical help, I was finally properly diagnosed with ADHD, something called the Ring of Fire, which means that every aspect of my brain that could be affected by ADHD is affected by ADHD. So that makes living pretty fun. And how long have I known? I didn't know what I had for a long time, but I knew there was something wrong with me, and I knew that there was something different about me as a child. And I do mean wrong, because mental illness is not... We dance around it, calling it divergency or neurodivergency. But this is not a superpower. This is not just a different way of being. This is something that is hindering. It is a roadblock. It is not something that I wish upon anybody else. It's not cute. Everyone knows about bipolar, about how disruptive it can be, but a lot of people don't understand just how disruptive ADHD can be to a person's life, especially when you're unmedicated. It's having both of these together combined, and there is a comorbidity between the two. I mean, If you get diagnosed with one, there's a good chance you're going to get diagnosed with the other. And it's been hell. My entire life has been hell because of this.
How has living with bipolar disorder and ADHD impacted your daily life?
Having these mental illnesses has impacted every single aspect of my life. Whether it's wake up in the morning and trying to figure out if I can function that day, or trying to figure out how to function, or my relationships, or just crossing the street. It's something I'd said to a partner as a jest, but it was true. It was, have you ever tried crossing the street via committee? Think about that, because I have so many things going on in my brain that sometimes just making a simple decision could take, for me, it feels like it takes forever. For others, it may only be a nanosecond, but for me, I've weighed every single aspect, every single scenario that could happen for me doing one simple aspect, such as crossing the street. And I don't know how much more plain I can make that about how this has impacted every aspect of my life. It is my life. Mental illness has become the biggest part of my life, and I resent that.
Can you describe what a typical day looks like for you?
What a typical day looks like for me. Jesus. Well, typical day, like I said, is I wake up and I try to figure out whether or not I'm stable. Because if I'm not stable, then I don't want to be in public. I don't want to be around people. I can't be around people. It's grueling. It's me protecting others from myself. It's really what I'm doing. While there is a part of self-preservation there because, hey, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose these friendships. I don't want to have someone call the cops on me because I happen to went through a manic phase and freaking out, or because I am hallucinating so hard today that I'm having arguments with people who aren't there in the middle of the street, and everyone around me is now afraid for their lives because I'm talking to myself. There is no aspect of my life that is not affected by these things.